You know, liberal policies sell this utopian dream where there's no bad, everything is good. They use rainbows and unicorns or whatever other mythical thing they can come up with to support policies that have never succeeded in the history of ever. Case in point, last week, a 60-year-old woman was beaten with her own cane while bystanders, they didn't help. They took videos. They couldn't be bothered to lift a finger, but they made sure to record it. I mean, which one of our Ivy League scholars would like to know why here? Because the last time a Good Samaritan, Daniel Penny, decided to step in, he was charged with second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. And this is the reality of the rainbows and unicorn policies. These criminals, they're suddenly the victims. And John Q. Public, you and I, are presumed guilty until proven innocent. That's what happened to Daniel Penny. It's not unique. How many other people? Kyle Rittenhouse, Mark McCluskey, and the New York City bodega owner, Jose Alba, who was handed a murder charge by Alvin Bragg for defending his own life inside of his own business where he was attacked with no exit. All of these people have something in common, though. They've been villainized by a system that is quite literally working for the criminal. This is the environment the left wants to create, a society of victims where everyone depends on a system, a country where you live in fear, that you can't even defend yourself. And if you do, it might cost you your livelihood, maybe your freedom. And the people you would call for help, you know, the police, also have been demonized. People who get up every morning, put on a bulletproof vest, and risk their lives to keep people safe. They're now the first ones under investigation when someone calls them when they respond to a crime. Can you imagine that? The same thing that deters Good Samaritans from potentially saving lives is now deterring cops as well. And the examples here are just completely infinite. But think about it. Put yourself in the blue shoes. Why would any police officer working towards a pension, especially if they're close to it, who would be almost guaranteed to be accused of wrongdoing by corrupt DAs and career-climbing internal affairs officers, why would they intervene on a guy jumping a turnstile, maybe smoking a joint, or running a stop sign? It's a risk to their career. More importantly, imagine how they feel about responding to a crime that might require them to draw their weapon. At that point, it's almost career suicide. You see the reality of these idiotic utopian policies? And the headshed implementing these ridiculous policies continue to fail up. It's maddening. The Philadelphia police chief who presided over a literal zombie land, look at this, full of drugged up hobos shooting up in the street and homeless camps. The woman who couldn't stop that, or didn't want to do anything to stop it, just earned herself a promotion. You've got to be kidding me. She is now going to be the deputy security chief at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. That's a really big job. Another area that's probably starving for her expertise, I'm sure. But don't worry, she's just joining an elite group of lawmakers in the Empire State in which the NYCLU, the state's ACLU affiliate, has struck a deal with the NYPD. I could not believe this when I read it. It now prohibits officers from breaking up protests unless it's a last resort. Yeah, because a bunch of officers would happily break. No, they don't do that unless it becomes violent. That's why they break up these protests. But NYPD now, under this new agreement with the American Civil Liberties Union, must give orders to disperse 3 times before any arrests, and most arrests will require approval from above. Okay, so to break up a protest, an NYPD officer has to give 3 strikes, and then only then they're allowed to get a permission slip signed by their boss to make an arrest. You wonder why crime is going up through the roof here. And perhaps the most glaring example, though, is the fact that any law enforcement officer has been shackled when it comes to this migrant crisis. A migrant woman slapped a cop who was trying to confiscate her unregistered dirt bike, by the way. This was right outside of one of those, taxpayer-funded shelters. In simpler terms, someone who was here illegally, who has a prior arrest for assault and wasn't deported then, was riding around on an unregistered dirt bike and slapped a law enforcement officer trying to do their job. Sure, she was arrested, but she'll be released, just like she was last time. How about the Roosevelt Hotel, which, believe it or not, used to be a really decent place to stay? Since the government decided to ruin it and turn it into a luxury destination for illegals, more than 40 people have been arrested on that property since May. This comes amid calls from even Democratic mayors who once called themselves sanctuary cities. Come in, we'll take anybody you want. Now, they're begging for the flow of migrants to stop. But Joe Biden, is he doing anything about it? Well, actually, yeah, he is doing something about it. He's actually making it worse. This is unbelievable. He ordered Border Patrol agents to weld more than 100 gates at the southern border open, not shut, open, specifically to stop anyone from closing them. Some of these points of entry, specifically in Arizona, have become hotspots for migrants. In fact, the border sector in Arizona is now officially the deadliest crossing point for migrants entering our country. Does anybody care? I mean, I sure do, but certainly not our vice president. You know, the border czar doesn't perform a single function of her job. And clearly, this is true. 300 migrants, just 300 just yesterday, joined us. It's almost like they're trying to do a bad job. Everything they do makes every situation worse. There's no reasoning for it. Literally, all of these things, all of these policies have been tried throughout history in different countries and governments and everything. None of them have ever equated to any elevated level of prosperity, ever. I guess my question is, why do we keep diving into the shallow end of the pool of stupid?